Do you guys shy away from large, heavy books to send in to FBA? I just sold a book titled National Geographic Simply Beautiful Photographs. It was a very large book. It was wide, it was tall, but it was also really heavy. Weighed 5.3 pounds. So pick up a 5-pound weight and you know that's what this book weighed. It's a combination of weight and dimension, which leads to it being a little more expensive for Amazon to mail it. There's 2 fees that are different for each and every item, depending upon the price of the item and also depending upon the weight. There's the referral fee on the item price, which is 15%. The other one is the weight and the dimension, of course. There's small and then there's large. Those are where the weight handling fee differs. So from what I could find, it's 50 cents per pound for the small standard size, and it's 85 cents per pound for the large standard size. For this book that I sent, it was charged $2.88 for weight handling, which isn't too bad. I bought the book for $1 and I listed and sold it for $20.57. After all of the fees, including the referral fee and including the weight handling fee, amongst a few others, Amazon paid me $12.19. Subtract the dollar, you're left with about $11 and change. And then, of course, inbound shipping, which is not that much for this book because it was with a lot of other books. So I put that at most 50 to maybe, I doubt it was 75 cents, probably more like 50 or less. Let's say 50 cents, so that's $1.50. So it brings it down to about $10.50. So it's 10 times pure profit what I put into the book. In order for you to make a decision about whether to source a very heavy book, and I would say very heavy is at least a few pounds. Most books are going to be, paperbacks especially, are going to be under a pound or right around there. But if you start getting up to 3, 4, 5 pounds, you're talking about a big heavy book, usually a hardcover, and usually a bigger one like with photographs or oversized coffee table book, that sort of thing, odd shaped. Usually has thicker, heavier paper. Usually it's a bit longer. Usually there's more pages in it, etc. So in order to make a decision about whether to buy it and source it, you got to take everything into consideration like you do normally with books. Because it's heavier, you have to pad it with a little more profit. So if that big book is only going to sell for $10, $9.95, it's probably not worth it unless it's going to sell immediately upon hitting the warehouse, but still might not be worth it because the fee might be too high, and also depends on how much you paid for the book. If you're spending $2 on the book, then you're going to want to probably sell it for over $20. Not if you're going to sell it for $10 and you paid $2 and it's going to be really heavy to ship in, and then as well as when it sells, even if it sells within a week of hitting the warehouse, you might end up losing money or barely making any profit. So I suggest for these heavier books, I would say 3 to 5 pounds. Anything over 5 pounds is going to be a monster of a book. This was a heavy book. I mean, 5 pounds is substantial. I would shoot more for $20 and up. And I sold this for $20 and I ended up making $12, but I only paid $1 for it. If I would have had to pay $5 for this big heavy book, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to need to sell it for $35 or $40. So of course, just as always with books, you got to consider how much the sourcing cost was, not just the sale price. But if you're getting a bigger, heavier book for the normal prices that you're paying, let's say no more than $2, but let's say more like 50 cents to $1, then you're definitely gonna do well if sell it for around $20. If you sold it for $15, that you might not make quite as much of a profit. So I would kind of stick towards the $20 and up range for these heavier books. And just don't bother unless you're going to legitimately be able to sell it for that amount of money. And a lot of times you can sell these bigger books for over $20 because they're specialty books. There's not that many of them. They are viewed as valuable. There's a demand. Even if the rank stays in about 1 million or so range, then you can still sell them. This National Geographic book that I sold actually had a rank of 40,000 when I listed it. So it sells quite a few copies. That's not that common, but it is if it's pretty niche and it's a popular book. Well, not super popular, but if it's at least a book in demand. You can find these sometimes. but you definitely want to make sure that it's going for $20+. The more the better. So you can still make a good profit. If you find a bunch of them at once, which is probably unlikely, but if you come across a collection and somebody has a lot of these bigger books, they're still worth it to buy. I found a bunch of heavier, oversized books at an estate sale a few months back, and it was definitely worth getting them because most of them were going for definitely over $20 and many of them over $30. It was definitely worth it, even though I shipped them all in together. Still, because the rates are so low with UPS, that it's still worth it as long as you're selling them for good money. So don't necessarily shy away from these books. Just take into consideration how much they cost to source, what you can legitimately sell them for. If you think you can sell it for 20, but realistically you might have to sell it for 15, then probably not. But if you think you can at least get $20 for it and it doesn't take forever to sell it, then it's probably worth it. So be on the lookout for those heavier books, and it's always a little easier to deal with them if you're shipping them in with a lot of normal size paperbacks and whatnot, so that the price is not going to be so much for inbound shipping. Even if you have to send it across the country or 1,000 miles away, it should still be okay as long as you're putting 40 to 50 books around there in with it. It shouldn't cost too much to ship in. So yeah, just make sure there's enough profit and it should make sense. I couldn't find any large books in my house to kind of demonstrate what I was talking about. This was the largest I could find that was a little bit thick, but it's not very heavy. Paper's pretty thin and it's just not an overall heavy book. This is sort of the size, you can see the difference here in the size. This is more of the size that I'm talking about, where it'll be kind of this size, but more of this thickness. And, that kind of book, it's like, if it's pretty heavy to pick up, you feel like you're lifting weights, then that might qualify as a bigger, oversized, heavier book. And generally, these books tend to be a little bit newer. It could be 10 or 15 years old, but they're generally a little bit newer. You're not going to see one from the 70s. Typically, there's going to be some, if they're in good shape, but usually they're a little bit newer within the last 10 years or so. And those are the ones that you're going to want to take a look at, especially ones that have lots of photos or just lots of great imagery or great fonts, that sort of thing, a very niche type of book. It's not mostly nonfiction. It's going to be pictorial, it's going to be artistic, it's going to be unique, it's going to be niche, it's going to be drilled down, it's going to be unique. So kind of the similar characteristics that apply to a lot of books in general that you're going to want to resell on FBA. It's just an example of what to keep your eye on. Books from National Geographic aren't usually worth looking at, but because of the visual nature of this one and how it stood out to me with its size and weight and attractive photos and beautiful photos as it's named, then it grabbed my attention more and was more worth looking up and seeing if it was worth sending in, and it turns out that it was. It was kind of on the cusp there of where I'm comfortable with in terms of price point. If it would have been less than 20, I probably wouldn't have done it because it was too heavy. I'm immediately making those quick decisions. I pick up the heavy book. It's heavy, but it looks beautiful. I look it up. Oh, it's got a decent rank. It's going for good money. But if it's heavy, the rank's a little bit too high, and I can't sell it for at least $20, I'm immediately going to move on. And can I just talk about how awesome it is to not only send your items to one warehouse, but to send them in-state? I mentioned in yesterday's vlog that I dropped off another box of 49 books. Not only did they go to the same warehouse, but it went in-state. The UPS stores closed at 6 p.m. I dropped them off around 5:30. They were already checked in this afternoon, today, Tuesday, the day after. So it took less than 24 hours for them not only to arrive at the warehouse, but to get checked in. Now, that blows my mind because I know it's in-state and I know that UPS, the truck's already there taking the boxes out of the UPS store. So I know it's going to be going to the distribution center that evening. But then the next morning, clearly it went on a truck or went to another distribution center and was quickly distributed. And then not only that, but the warehouse got it unpacked and checked in. So it kind of blows my mind that I'm able to send 49 books, which is not a small amount of books, and have it go live in less than 24 hours. Now, this is partially luck in terms of being able to send them in state, but I'm riding the wave here of in-state shipments, and I'm sticking to the smaller shipments. And I really believe that it has to do with where you live and also other factors that we have no control over, such as how many warehouses are near you, such as even if there's a warehouse near you, does it already have the books that you're sending in? Do they want to spread those books around to another region? Things like that. I don't know. I wish Amazon could shed some more light on that, but they're probably never going to do that. So we just have to fool around with the shipments and see what works best for us. Because I know a lot of you guys leaving comments saying, well, I get 30 books split to 3 different warehouses, and I don't know what to say. That sucks. It might just have to do with where you live and some other factors that we don't have control over. So just work with what you can, find some smaller boxes, maybe try bigger amounts, maybe try 50 or 70 books. I don't know, but just keep tinkering with it, and you may or may not be able to figure out how to stop the split shipments or get them all to go to a closer warehouse. I'm not sure. This works for me, and thanks to some suggestions from some of the viewers out there, I was able to do this, and now I'm just sticking to less than 50 items. So I'm already have about 30 books. I just got another 12 today. I went sourcing today to a thrift store and got around a dozen books, maybe a few more, maybe 13, 14. So I should be into 40 books. I already listed about close to 20 already. So I'll probably finish that up definitely by tomorrow. Maybe tonight, but probably not, but by tomorrow, and send another shipment tomorrow. So the great thing is they're getting checked in quickly, and it's really inexpensive. The box yesterday cost $8 and change to send, and it was 50 pounds. So I feel lucky, and I just hope that some of you guys can get some of that luck too. And as always, remember, keep booking.